The Indian Himalayas. Now there's a phrase to conjure with. These aren't just any old hills, mind you. They are the big ones. The very definition of majestic. They stretch across the top of India like a giant snowy smile. About 2,400 kilometers of smile from Jammu and Kashmir all the way to Arunachal Pradesh. That's a lot of mountain by anyone's standards. Part of an even bigger range, really. It spills over into Nepal and Bhutan too. These mountains are young, geologically speaking, and still growing, pushing up. Imagine the Indian landmass giving Eurasia a very slow, very firm nudge. For millions of years, that's what made these giants. It's quite the thought. Now, about those specific tall bits, the celebrities of the range, India has its share of truly enormous mountains, proper giants. Take Kanchenjunga, for instance. It's a bit of a show-off. It sits on the border between India and Nepal, looking rather smug. At 8,586 meters, that's 28,169 feet. It's the third highest peak on Earth. The locals consider it sacred. You can understand why. You wouldn't want to upset something that big. It has 5 great peaks, like a crown. Hence its name, 5 Treasures of the Great Snow, a truly formidable and beautiful mountain. You might think such high, cold places would be empty, devoid of life, but you'd be wrong, surprisingly, wonderfully wrong. The Indian Himalayas are teeming with creatures. Some quite shy, others rather bold. Pride of place perhaps goes to the snow leopard, an almost mythical beast. Grey ghost of the mountains. There are perhaps only 200 to 600 of them in India. They are elusive, perfectly camouflaged, and utterly beautiful. Seeing one in the wild? That's winning the wildlife lottery, a true icon of these high-altitude wildernesses. It's not all rock and ice and furry creatures, you know. The plant life in the Indian Himalayas is equally fascinating, a real botanical treasure trove. As you climb, the forests change, a vertical journey through different worlds. Lower down, you might find broadleaf forests, lush and green. Then, as you ascend, conifers start to dominate the scene. The mighty deodar cedar, for instance. Its name means wood of the gods. These majestic trees grow between 6,300 and 9,000 feet. Their timber is prized, their presence calming. Ancient sentinels of the slopes, a truly noble tree standing tall against the mountain winds. Section 5, keeping it wild parks and saving graces. With so much natural wonder, it's a good thing people are trying to protect it. India has established several national parks and sanctuaries in the Himalayas. These are crucial havens for wildlife and unique ecosystems. Take Jim Corbett National Park, for example. It's India's oldest. Nestled in the foothills, it's a key area for protecting Bengal tigers. Imagine the thrill of spotting one of those magnificent striped cats. Of course, they are famously good at not being spotted, which is probably for the best. But knowing they are there, protected, is a comforting thought. These parks are like arks, preserving biodiversity. Section 6. Fancy a stroll trekking in the toy box of giants? Now, for those who like to stretch their legs and lungs, the Indian Himalayas are a paradise for trekking and hiking. Apparently, about 60% of adventure tourists come here just for the trails. I can see the appeal. Walking among such giants must be quite something. Though I imagine Stroll might be understating it a bit. Some of these paths go up and then up some more. But the views, they say, are worth every aching muscle. Popular routes abound, catering to various levels of ambition and fitness, or perhaps levels of delightful madness. Section 7. Getting your feet wet and cold. Water and winter fun. If trudging uphill for days isn't your particular cup of tea, don't despair. The Indian Himalayas offer other ways to get your adrenaline pumping. How about some white water rafting on rather large, boisterous rivers? The Brahmaputra and the Ganges, born from Himalayan glaciers, offer thrilling rides. These aren't gentle meanders. These are churning torrents of excitement. Apparently, this sort of thing attracts about 25% of adventure tourists and generates a fair bit of money, around $1.5 billion annually. So, clearly, quite a few people enjoy being tossed around in a rubber boat. Each to their own, I always say. Section 8, Old Ways, High Passes, the people who call this home. It's easy to focus on the mountains themselves, the peaks, the rivers, but the Indian Himalayas are also home to a remarkable diversity of people, communities who have lived in these challenging landscapes for centuries. They have adapted to the altitude, the climate, the isolation. Groups like the Gadis, traditionally shepherds in Himachal Pradesh, the Lepchas, the original inhabitants of Sikkim, with their deep connection to nature, and the Bhotias of Tibetan origin found in various high-altitude regions. Each community has its own unique traditions, languages, and lifestyles, a rich tapestry of human culture woven into the mountain fabric. Section 9. So, you're going? A few tips before you pack your Woollies. Right, so you're inspired, ready to answer the call of those big pointy things. Before you dash off and buy a one-way ticket to the nearest Himalayan foothill, a few practical thoughts. Timing is everything, especially in the mountains. Weather can be a bit assertive. For trekking, the best windows are generally April to June and then September to December. This is when the skies are clearer and the paths less treacherous. If you're aiming for altitudes at above 4,000 meters, stick to May, June, September, or October. Winter sports enthusiasts naturally should aim for December to February, when it's suitably snowy. Do your research for the specific region you plan to visit. It matters.